Hello everyone. Today I'm going to discuss on a topic called as Backdoor Trojan, and also I'll give you a demo on the Trojan created and how the information gets stolen from one computer to another. Now let's understand what a Trojan is. So a Trojan actually has taken their name in cybersecurity from the Greek mythology, where a hollow wooden horse Greeks hid inside the enemy walls during the Trojan War, and the Trojans, thinking the horse was a gift, opened their walled city to accept it. This allowed the Greeks hidden inside to come out at night and attack and sack the city. It's a very famous story, and in fact a movie about it is also done called as Troy. The movie came out in 2004, starring Brad Pitt as the great warrior Achilles, in which depiction of the Trojan horse is done, within which Greek soldiers and Achilles himself were waiting to attack. The Greeks didn't know about this, and they welcomed the horse inside the compound to celebrate the victory. However, in the night, the Greek soldiers came out, attacked, and sacked the city of Troy. The reason why I am telling you this similar kind of attack strategy is also implemented by the Trojan program created by attackers. Now, so Trojan in cybersecurity is a malicious code or software that looks legitimate, but when allowed can take control of the victim's computer and then can damage, disrupt, steal, inflict some harmful action on the victim's data or network. Now, a backdoor is a specialized Trojan which, when executed on a system, will allow the attacker to gain full access over the system. And when we talk about backdoor, it has to be interactive. Just establishing a connection won't be enough. The attackers should also be ipable to take advantage of that. And for that, communication must be established, and once established, the attacker can perform system commands like dir, ipconfig, upload, download from the attacker's console to the victim's machine. So this is how a backdoor looks like. The attacker's machine, and here is the victim's machine. This purple dashed line actually represents the connection happening between them. Once the connection is established, the attacker sends system command to the victim, and the victim give away the result to the attacker. To establish this connection is usually done here by the help of bind type connect, which means that the initial connection is going to be done from the attacker's end to the victim's machine. The victim computer, what it does, it listens or waits for the incoming connection on a specific port to which the attacker is going to connect. However, it is not a very good way of exploiting a victim's machine. Let me tell you why. Because if any unused port or a port in which a malicious code is getting executed in victim's machine, the victim's firewall or the antivirus will detect it and will warn the victim. Will get to know there's something suspicious is happening. To prevent that, attacker use something called as reverse connection. Now what happens in reverse connections, when the backdoor is executed on the victim's computer, it will connect back to the attacker, and now the reverse happens. So earlier what I explained, a port is opened in the victim's machine, the firewall detects it and warns the victim. However, in this case what happens, the attacker opens a port and the victim tries to connect to that port. Now in this case, the firewall of victim won't notice anything suspicious because the victim always communicates in the same format. How? Now every day when we let's say we go to the google.com or facebook.com, what actually happens is that my system is trying to communicate across the network using a port which is open so that this web service connection can be established. Okay. And here the same thing is happening. The only thing is this connection is going from the victim's machine to the attacker's open port, and the firewall will never trigger this as a suspicious activity. This connection from victim is very similar to any other connection that the victim does every day, similar to opening a website where a connection is established. And most firewall will not trigger this as suspicious activity, as it looks like a normal connection request. So this is how it looks like. What the attacker does, it opens the port here and it actively listens for any incoming connection on this specific port like 8080 etc., which are very regular web service port, and the victim requests a connection to connect to this port. Okay, and that's how the connection is established, and this is something called as reverse connection. Once the connection is done, like I said earlier, that once a stable connection is established, the attacker should be able to take the advantage of it, and that's why the attacker sends system commands to perform basic operations on the victim's machine. Like for example, ipconfig. Ipconfig can give away the entire ipconfig details of the victim's machine. Or let's say dir. Dir will give away all the files and location of the files present in the victim's machine. This kind of thing is done here. In here, to give you a demo on this, so I am using Python. The connection is not necessarily always a suspicious thing. Actually, a lot of times this kind of activity are usually done to establish connection between computers, normal transfer of data. But this advantage is taken by hackers or attackers to attack the machine and steal information data, or to plant any virus. Now here, focusing on cybersecurity, I will be using Python to create a backdoor, and the victim machine that I have used here is Windows machine, and the attacker's machine by which the attacker will attack the victim is a Kali machine. So Kali is a Linux based open source platform which is very popular, used among cybersecurity professionals and the attackers to perform penetration testing or other security measures against attacks respectively. That the backdoor is created by the help of Python. I have used something called a socket library, which is used to create simple sockets, so that sockets are used to connect two nodes on a network to communicate with each other, and in this case these two nodes are the systems, the attacker and the victim system. One socket listens to a particular port at an IP, while the other socket reaches out to the other to form a connection. One socket listens to a particular port at an IP, while the other socket reaches out to the other to form a connection. Once establishment is done, then another library is used here, something called a sub-process library in Python, which is used to send system commands from the attacker's machine. So two things come into play here. One is establishing the connection, and the next one is sending system command. Let's go to the demo part. This is a Kali machine. I have hosted it virtually. So this is how a Kali machine looks like. Kali machine, like I said, is a Linux based system, so it is completely a terminal based system. All kind of operations are usually done from a terminal. So I have logged in as a root user. So the attacker, first of all, what it does is it starts listening, it starts opening the port and lures the victim to connect to it. Okay, I have a code here. I will go to the location. So the code is present in download section, and then I will run that code. So it is Python 3, and the code is listener.py file. It's a Python file. I run this. Now you can see it is waiting for incoming connection. You can see a message is coming up, waiting for incoming connection. Now consider this. The victim, again by some way, has got this particular exe file through various processes used by attackers, such as social engineering or steganography or phishing or suspicious PDFs, images, to lure the victim to download it. The victim is unaware that there is one exe file which will run once they click on this. So imagine this, that the victim has clicked on it and this particular code runs. So it is getting executed. The victim won't see anything, only the mouse hovering will happen, and then even that will go away. Now if I go to the Kali machine, you can see that the attacker has got a connection from this particular IP address. This IP address is the IP address of the victim over this particular port. Okay, now the attacker can do basic system operations. Let's say dir. Dir is used to check the files present in the current directory. If I type and enter this, you can see that all the details inside that particular dir is getting displayed, and the directory is C drive uses this particular directory is there. So inside, in desktop, there is a folder called as info. Within this info, the backdoor is present, and here you can see there is something called as do not read.txt file is present. Okay, now let's go to the victim's machine. Now the victim has kept a very sensitive data, and the victim has kept a very sensitive data. In this case, there is the wallet ID of bitcoins, and the victim, for safety purpose, has kept it here, but the attacker gets access to this. Now the attacker can read the contents of the file as well. The attacker has to write more do not read.txt, and the details get displayed here. The attacker can simply copy this the attacker can simply copy this and use it for its advantage. Okay, and there are some other operations can also be done. Like I said, let's say I write ipconfig. This will give away the entire ipconfig of the victim's machine, every details, right from IPv4 address to subnet mask to IPv6 address, if any, to the MAC address. All the details can be displayed here. Okay, by this way the information is stolen from the victim's machine to the attacker machine, and the victim doesn't even get a glimpse of this is happening in the backend. And some other operations can also be done. Like I was saying, the victim can download a file, or the victim can upload a malicious virus into the system. Okay, this kind of things can also be done. The victim can change directory and go to a other directory and other directory and again steal the file or upload anything. Many kind of activities can be done here. For this demo I have kept up to this point. If you want me to cover all the other options, let me know in the comments and I will add those. This is all that is there to the demo of this. Now let's go into the code part. So in order to make you understand how this is working, I will start with a very simple code. Okay, in the attacker's machine, a listener is getting executed, and like I was saying, the listener helps in establishing the backdoor connection, correct? So like I was saying, in the Kali machine, the attacker execute something called as listener, and this listener is important to establish the reverse connection, right? So before I go into the listener, I would like to show you an inbuilt listener present in Kali machine called as netcat. Let me log in as a root user. Now to run the netcat, what we have to do is we have to type nc, which is abbreviated for netcat -vv. So vv stands for comprehensive information about what's happening, and then -l stands for listening. Okay, then -p is for the port, and here I can mention what port I want to listen to. It can be 4444, which is in this case, or it can be 80 or 8080, which are like common web services port, and this makes the backdoor to be detected even less, because this works exactly like a web server. Now if I hit enter, you can see that it is giving a message that listening on any 4444. What this basically means is that it is listening over the port 4444 for any kind of connection to have it established in the attacker's machine. The attacker is simply welcoming the victim to get connected here. Now coming to the victim's machine, to write a backdoor. Now in victim machine the backdoor will run. Now let me write basic backdoor and try to establish a connection using that from the victim's machine. Now in order to do that, I have used here spider, which is a Python IDE. The library that is getting used here is socket. Socket is the Python library. So let me write it as this. So I'm writing connection as a variable here, and I will use this socket library, and within this socket library there is a class named as socket. In this socket class we will be giving away two arguments. The first argument is the address family, so we'll be giving socket dot a hyphen inet, and the second one is the socket type, so socket dot sock underscore trim. Okay, next we'll use this connection variable. From here we will call a method called as connect, and within this connect we'll be passing away the IP address of the attacker's machine and the port. Now the port, we know it as 4444, which the attacker is using right now. We have to give the IP address. We go back to the Kali machine. To find the IP address, you have to type something called as IP. We have to type the command IP hyphen space a. This gives the IP address. So the value right next to the inet is the IP address. I'll be entering that same value here, and this is basically a very simple backdoor that is written here. What it will do here is just establish a connection between the victim, from the victim's machine to the attacker's machine. What it will do is it will establish the reverse connection from the victim's machine to the attackers. Let me save this one. I will save this as let's say backdoor basic. Let me name it as this. I will save it here. Now you must be thinking, from where did I got all these values? Socket.if inet or socket. So I haven't discovered all this. All of this can be very easily found out from the socket library page, which is an open source page, and in here you will get all the knowledge that is needed to in and around this socket. You can use this for your advantage or for further learning on this. Now let's run this particular backdoor basic and let's see if the connection is happening or not. Now what I have to do is that I have to copy this and I have to go to the Python location where the .exe Python is present. I will just paste it here. Now from here I will run that, I will execute the file. So I will be writing python.exe and backdoor basic.py. You see the execution happened and it got completed. If we go to the Kali machine, you will see that when the netcat was running at port 4444, it was listening for it, and you can see a inverse hook. You can see the connection happened from Kali machine to, you can see a connection happened to the Kali machine's IP address from the victim's machine having this particular IP address. And so here the connection was a very short one, so no sent, received, anything didn't happen, because it just established a connection and it just closed it. And we will be seeing on how to make a constant, how to maintain a constant connection, and how to do all the operations further. Okay, so this is the backdoor. So if you see these two lines, I have further enhanced it by mentioning this inside a constructor, and inside the constructor I am mentioning the IP and the port, so that I can pass it externally as per my use. The connection is happening here. Now once the connection is done, what we have to do is we have to establish this connection. So to do that, what we are doing is we are running a while loop here, and within this while loop we are trying to keep this connection open as long as possible. Now within this while loop, one more method is getting run here, and this method is using this sub process library. And in sub process library we are sending the command files, and this command are the basic command lines like dir or ipconfig, which the attacker is sending from its machine to the victim, and I'm using that here. So as long as the while loop is running, this will run, and since this will run, so this will also run. And once this is running, so whatever I'm sending here, whatever command that I am sending here, the result that I will get from it, so I am keeping it in this particular connection.send command result. So the result that I will get here, so I am receiving those. So whatever command I am writing, the result that will come back, so those are getting stored in this connection.receive. So in this command value it is getting stored, and then I am receiving all those values. Now here you can see I have entered the IP address of the attacker's machine so that the reverse connection can happen. It works. This is how a backdoor is working. This is what the backdoor code, this is a very general backdoor code which is written to do this kind of operations. And now the thing is, like I was saying, that netcat is an inbuilt tool present in Kali. but we can write our own listener as well the way we want to. Okay, so that can also be done, and I have written a basic listener here. Now in listener it's almost same to that of a backdoor. Again, that socket class is used when sending the values, but then here it changes a bit. So what we are doing here is we are keeping that socket open as long as the listener wants to listen. So that is set here in this particular line, and so it is listening. Now the moment a connection is established, the listener executes. We are printing in the console waiting for incoming connections. Now once the connection is established, then we are showing that we got a connection from this particular address, right? And then once this is done, then so this particular listener class once executed, then we are running this run method. Within this run method, this will keep on executing the command as long as this while statement is running. So we have kept it as true so that it will keep on running for a longer period of time. I mean, it will serve the attacker as long as it wishes. And here this you can see this particular symbol, this comes up there wherein we enter our command. This command is then sent over the backdoor communicated channel to the victim, and in victim's machine that command is ran. The result is printed here in the console. The connection is the command is ran. Whatever result comes up, it is stored in this result variable, and here it is printed. So this is what a basic listener looks like. Of course, it can further be enhanced, or it can further be improvised based on the requirement or how the attacker wishes. And like I said, hackers or attackers use this for their own exploitatory purposes, but this is not the only usage to this. There are other usage wherein it is used ethically or legally for connection between computers and to have information exchange between the systems. This is all that is there to this particular video. I hope you liked it. Thank you.